Iran's grip on the Strait of Hormuz, which is sending global energy prices just skyrocketing, both threatening the two-week pause in fighting. Joining me now is Denise Gitsham, national political contributor. Denise, the Strait of Hormuz, it's been the dominant conversation over the last, 5 weeks. It's certainly a critical aspect of the negotiation talks. President Trump took to Truth Social earlier this morning, saying the United States is in the process of clearing out the Strait of Hormuz and that empty oil ships are heading to our country to, quote, load up with oil. If an agreement is not reached over the strait, how do you think the administration is going to react, just given the economic pressure it's under to open up that waterway?
Well, I'm certain that we will find a way to resolve this issue, whether it comes diplomatically or militarily. Look, we don't really have an option. We can't allow the international community, forget about America for a second, the international community should not and cannot afford to allow Iran to exercise this level of control over the Strait of Hormuz. I'm really disappointed in the international community for not defending their freedom of navigation in this international waterway, which is not financed or owned or constructed by Iran. It's governed by the UN Convention on the Law of Seas, which guarantees transit as a matter of right, not a privilege that can be granted or withheld or weaponized.
That being said, it's been 5 weeks that Iran has effectively had this grip on the strait. And I think if you rewind 5 weeks ago, most of us would have said that we didn't think it would hold this long and that the U.S. would have been able to do something. And I say this as we see the national price of gas, cross $4 a gallon. It's $4.14 is the national average right now. Now we're getting data showing inflation has hit 3.3%, the highest level we've seen in almost 4 years, mostly on the backs of energy cost. President Trump certainly campaigned that he was going to be one to bring inflation down, fix the economy. We know he talks about this being short-term pain, and some of the data shows potentially that this could be short-term, even in that inflation report earlier this week. But how do you think Americans are going to end up squaring this, as we look to November? It's not that far away from right now, and midterms are going to come here sooner than we thought.
Yeah, nobody's more aware of that than President Trump. Trust me, there's nothing he wants more than to go through another impeachment, and that depends on how midterms go. I always hate saying that because as a politico, I hate that things are viewed through political lenses, but sometimes that helps. And in this case, I think it will, because it adds more pressure to U.S. negotiators to bring this war to an end, which is what I hope everyone's for. Look, we talk about 5 weeks as if it's a long time, but most wars last much longer. And I just think that 5 weeks is what it's going to take. I mean, it's shocking that that's all it's taken, really, if you step back and have some perspective on it, to degrade the Iranian military as much as we have, or at least we claim that we have. And so if there's Iranian rogue elements, which is really all that's left, if we're to believe like what, Hegseth and everyone else is saying, if that's rogue elements that are continuing to, it only takes one drone to take out a tanker. It only takes a couple of random actors to do whatever they do to wreak havoc in the Strait of Hormuz. I mean, those are things that can be systemically eliminated. But the fact that we're even at this point after 5 weeks is incredibly impressive militarily.
Continuing with the midterms here, because as you point out, the president is keenly aware of the potential impact this conflict could have on that. We're seeing other races pop up with some concern, right? You got Democratic California Congressman Eric Swallwell, who's running for governor in his home state. He's facing some backlash after a former staffer is now accusing him of sexual assault. In a video that he posted on social media, he is denying these allegations. This is what he said.
These allegations of sexual assault are flat false. They are absolutely false. They did not happen. They have never happened.
His kind of flat out denial there seems to be falling on deaf ears. You've got growing calls from within his own party to end his gubernatorial campaign, and some even going further and saying maybe he should, pull out of Congress altogether. You got fellow Californian, Congresswoman Nancy Pelosi releasing a statement. She says the matter needs to be investigated with full transparency and accountability, calling for it to be done outside of his campaign. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries calling for an investigation into the claims and telling Caldwell to end his campaign. Do you think he ends the campaign?
He has no choice. Look, I'm in California. I'm sitting about 45 minutes from his district, and we've been hearing these rumors forever swirling around him. He's made a lot of bad decisions regarding women in the past, including the Fang Fang sort of debacle and the Chinese spy issue. So, he at this point, he's not just politically wounded, he's absolutely radioactive. I mean, staff swatting, endorsements are gone. His own side says he's unfit. And what's interesting about this is sort of what we all hate about the hypocrisy of Washington, D.C., which is that Swallwell is one of 108, I think, House Democrats that called on the Senate to slow walk Kavanaugh's confirmation with the hashtag Believe Women. But suddenly, when he's on the other side of the issue, he's demanding due process and he's demonizing the very women who accuse him of rape. So, I think Democrats are willing to leak and kneecap one of their own because he's actually now become a liability to their chances to take the gubernatorial race. We've seen a lot about this coming out in the past few weeks about two Republicans being at the top of the ticket in our jungle primary, which means that it could be a race between two Republicans, and they needed to get a Democrat out, and he was the top polling Democrat. Yeah. So to me, this screams of insider job. I'm not surprised at all, but if this results in getting him out of politics, then that's a win for America.
You just called him radioactive. Do you think that extends to his current position? Do you see him in any scenario stepping down?
Well, if Anna Paulina Luna has her way, it will be, they'll at least have a vote on it. If Democrats decide that they're actually not willing to expel him, that tells you everything you need to know about how seriously they ever took that Believe Women hashtag.
Well, it's a story that many will follow, and we'll continue to report on it as it develops. Always good to have you, NewsNation political contributor Denise Gitsham. Thank you.
Great to see you.
All right, and it's game